Well, there's a time coming up that you have to get in the woods, and not everybody's bow hunting season is open yet, but I like to hunt all season long by the weather. And since it's been 3 decades now of hunting by the weather, it's paid off just dramatically. And there are days that I feel are 50% days, 40% days, where if you have a buck that you know you've patterned and you go in on them during a good weather day, you have a great chance of shooting them. If you go in on a bad weather day, you don't. And there's a lot of controversy on how far a buck moves, when there's good weather, when there's not good weather. A lot of times they'll show that a buck is moving the same distance every day. He goes to the same food sources, stays in the same bedding area. And when they do those studies, a lot of times they don't record whether it's a half-hour shift of daylight or an hour shift of daylight, and that's what you're hunting. So I want you to look at it too. There are folks out there that say the weather does not have anything to do with deer movement. It doesn't put buck on their feet. Let me ask you this. When there's a blizzard out and there's 70-mile-an-hour winds, you're getting a foot of snow, are deer feeding out in the fields? The answer is no. So obviously it changes their pattern. Thunderstorms, lightning, deer are typically not on their feet. And we see that. We have dozens of cameras running right now in 2 states. And we've had cameras. Boy, I've been using cameras since the end of the 90s, old film cameras back in the day. And boy, you sure see a correlation between when deer are on the feet and when they're not. And we'll see it in both states, side by side, different properties. And so it's pretty cool because you can examine it. You can just look at it yourself and you say, okay, this happened and it's super hot, super windy, the deer aren't on the feet. They might, again, move out in the middle of the night into their same food sources. So overall, they're moving. It's very deceiving because you can say, well, then the weather didn't have any effect. But obviously, if you look at the extremes of weather, it has an effect. And really, when it comes to putting a buck at your feet, during daylight, during shooting hours, you have to follow this weather forecast and advice like none other. For example, there's people that follow the moon. But I'm telling you, if it's a bad weather day, the moon doesn't matter. Weather always trumps the moon. And we're going to talk about just here really quick, coming up right now. It's September 19th. And when you start looking out in the forecast for this, we're shooting this on Tuesday, the 19th. So when you start looking at this weekend, there's a big setup and a big change coming. And what I really like to see are the super hot temperatures. And usually when you get warmer temperatures, unseasonably warm, you get higher wind speeds with that. Deer don't want to move. And so today we actually have a pretty good day. We're at a high of 73 in our area, and I'm looking at southeast Minnesota. And then it starts changing after that. So I want to talk about, I'm looking at southeast Minnesota temperatures. That means that if you're in Michigan, Indiana, you're looking about a day from now, maybe 20 hours, 18 hours difference, meaning you're a little bit behind this forecast. When you're getting all the way over into Pennsylvania, maybe down into even West Virginia, down into Virginia, you're looking at a day and a half from right now. And then if you're all the way over in the East Coast, down into South Carolina, up to the north, you're 2 days, 2.5 days. And so you're really looking at this upper half of the country and that weather staging through and changing as it goes. So if your change isn't taking place from, say, Sunday to Monday, then it's probably taking place from at Monday starting or Tuesday. So sometimes we pick a day, but I just want to go with, we're right here right now. And then of course you can look at the flip side. If you're in South Dakota and you're out to the west a little bit, maybe Montana, Wyoming, even Kansas, somewhere out there, then you're certainly Nebraska, you're going to be a half day to a day in front of us even. So this will take place a little bit faster. But what I really like seeing is, it's 73 tomorrow, or today, 74. We had a little bit of rain come through last night. We had the perfect southeast wind. So Jen and I are heading to stands tonight. It's our first day. Everything's perfect for where we want to go hunt. This is the first day of that, even though the season opened on Saturday. We didn't go hunting on Saturday, Sunday. People think that's sacrilege. You're not a real hunter if you don't go on opening day. But we hunt smart, and there's a difference. I want that to sink in. We hunt smart. The season is a marathon for us, not a sprint. The problem is when you're hunting private land, yeah, we have stands we can go sit out on. I have stands I can sit, and I'm not going to, spook the deer. I can go sit off in this corner stand, this corner stand. We probably have 5 or 10 stands we could go do that if I just wanted to go sit in the woods. But if I don't have a high percentage chance of being on the buck that I'm wanting or targeting, then I choose to do other things, family things with friends. We went out with friends on Saturday night. Went out to a nice dinner. We don't get to see these friends very often, so we had a really good time instead of going out in a tree stand. Maybe it's sacrilegious to you, But at the same time, we didn't go out on our land at all. We didn't burn anything out. We didn't burn friends out that don't get to see us very much or whatever it is. You make choices because we're managing our property for the entire year. Even on a property size of 500, ours isn't that big. But the point is that it doesn't matter if you have 500 acres or if you have 50 acres. When you start making mistakes on that property, you can't just go a mile over there and hunt a new spot like you can on public land. Public land, you can burn out spots. When Dylan goes out to South Dakota hunting public land, he has 12, 15 spots he can go to. If he burns out one, Dylan, how far are your spots apart? Like like 12, 15 spots, how far? Is that a 2 mile area? Is that a half mile?
I would say from one end to the other, you're probably looking at 30, 40 miles. But I mean,
so
some of the spots are 5 minutes apart. Some of them are 20,
Yeah, so if you burn out one area that might have 2 or 3 locations or 1 or 2, you can just go to another area and look for a new sign. And that's the difference between hunting public land and hunting private. When you're hunting private, you go a quarter mile, you're on someone else's land, unless you have huge acreage. So that's the difference. You have to manage a hunt for a very long time, so you have to be smart, and hunting the weather is a smart way to do so that you can really narrow down when you can hunt. Now, I can hunt anytime I want, but I can't hunt every day. We still have to shoot videos. I have to work with partners. I have to go to clients. So there's a lot of other things that I have to do within my daily schedule and responsibilities that even though I can choose when I can hunt, I can't hunt all the time. So this weather really is important. So when I see we have a good day today, but then tomorrow, Wednesday, the temperature gets up to 79 degrees. And Thursday, it's 77 degrees. And it holds like that, and all of a sudden we get a bunch of rain. On Sunday, it's 85% chance of rain. In fact, they're showing rain in the morning with heavy rain, heavy showers, and then in the afternoon they're talking about rain and drizzle. So when you start seeing that double forecast for rain, it's not just morning showers, afternoon showers. That's rain in the morning, rain in the afternoon, and you're only a few days out. You start to say, you know what, this might be real. We're actually getting some rain. We're starting to get a little bit more rain lately. So warm weather, rainy, stormy weather, what does it equal? It equals a great time to be out in the woods. When we start looking at next week, we're talking 24th, 25th, 26th, 27th of September. We're looking at 79, 77, 74, 70, and then 65. And then when you get into the 27th, right around there, which would be that following Tuesday, Wednesday time, 26th, 27th, we're starting to see at that time that not only is the temperature aligning, because obviously when you get rain, the temperature goes down, but skies are clearing, and we're getting that weather volatility out, the winds out. We're just getting good, comfortable temperatures in the mid-60s, which is something we haven't had yet this year. And the deer certainly take notice of that. So we're looking at this, depending on your area, that drop will take place. What I'm looking for is somewhat clean air, clean conditions, and I really don't care about the barometric pressure. For example, if I'm looking at this right here and I see that the temperature's dropping and we're seeing major changes from 79 degrees to 65 degrees, I'm looking at hunting opportunity, and I'm looking at going when the conditions are clear, meaning no hard rain, no thunder and lightning, no storms, no blizzards later in the year, no heavy snowfall. I'm looking at those clearing conditions where it's somewhat dry out or drying, and the weather's moved through and the temperatures dropped already or in the process of dropping. That's what I'm looking for, and that's proven to me over the decades to be very fruitful to follow that advice and really look at this in the weather. Going back to when I was looking at these weather forecasts in the newspaper and trying to pull up marine weather radio in the thumb area of Michigan just to hear what they had to say, on the 6-minute intervals during the hour or whatever it was when I'd tune in on AM radio to hear that forecast. So you're looking for these clearing conditions. And so I'm looking at winds have subsided. Doesn't mean they're calm. In fact, when it's calm, a lot of times is not the best time to hunt. Well, I'm seeing this, your area, it's all relative. What's really interesting this time of the year, we start to get that shift. And especially I see that towards the end of September. That's probably like the mid-range time. We start to see bucks shift from their summer habitat to their fall habitat. Why do bucks become nocturnal in an area? Well, part of it's hunting pressure. That's a big part of it, probably most of it. But then also it's because bucks actually leave their summer range and go to their fall range. We have one buck, Barry, who I'd love to shoot tonight. He's one of the ones we're going after tonight, Barry and Bo. Bo's more of a homebody during the fall. Barry's not. Last year, I think the last picture we had of him was September 11th, September 13th, and he didn't come back till December. This year, he's been around a lot more leading up to this time, but we haven't had a picture of him for about 5-6 days. So we'll see what happens. I feel like we gain several times more than we lose. We lose Barry, he's a big one. I'm hoping he doesn't go away. We have good conditions for him. We have better conditions for him this year with more habitat, more food, more bedding areas cut. We've left the area alone a lot more. We've made some changes on the land for access. Jim, who was living on our land, we got him to move out of the area to a different spot where he doesn't do as much damage to the hunting on the land. So he's a hermit that lives in a camper, camps on our land. I don't know if you've heard about him, or what we do, but anyways, interesting fella, let's put it that way. And I like Jim, but he's making some better changes in his life for him and moving on, so that'll help our hunting too, which is good. But bottom line is, I'm looking at this time of year, those bucks are starting to change. And when you get a major weather change, where you get lots of wind, lots of rain, and then you get change in temperature too, it's almost like those bucks can feel it, the deer herd in general. I mean, they live out in the woods 365. So then you look at those deer all of a sudden saying, hey, there's something changing in the whitetail woods. There's a certain smell in the air with leaves dropping, certain dampness in the air, temperatures changing, the leaves are dropping, summer forages are gone, summer food sources are gone, the beans are turning brown, the alfalfa certainly gets stemmy and dormant here after the first frost in about 6 weeks, 4 weeks, somewhere around there. Things are really changing, and that's when bucks change from their summer habitat to the fall, and we see that they change by about 1 mile to 1.5 miles. That's that total distance we see on average. So expect a shift this time of year, and expect bucks to move onto your land this time of year that you haven't even seen yet, and you think, well, it's a needle in a haystack. But you know he comes in. You might have seen him for a year or two, 3 years in some cases. He comes into your land. You know he's going to be coming into your land. You're waiting for these changes to take place. You see these temperature changes. You see a big weather change pattern, and you go out and hunt a stand location where you expect him to be. It might not have been that he's even shown up yet this year, but this is that time where you can take a chance. And so how do I hunt those bucks? I'm going in and specifically looking for areas where I know that he's fed in the past. He's in the evening, afternoon feeding pattern. This time of year in the morning, it's hard to beat them back to their bedding areas. So a lot of times you get into a bedding area this time of year and you're spooking them. Now there are some, I really like hunting remote food sources in the morning where they're on the way back to bedding, an apple tree, something where it's a quick stop, even a water hole sometimes where it's on the way back to a bedding area. That way you're not getting in and spooking out the bedding area, but you're hunting an area and have less of a chance of spooking that area in a small area on the way to that. Typically water, apple tree, soft mass, maybe a really nice stand of white oak, especially early in the season, or a small hunting plot on the way back to that bedding area. So that's what I'm looking for if I'm going to take a chance in the morning, but I'm really looking for the afternoon, evening on these weather changes where a buck is coming into a food source, or he's told me he will for a couple of years. I just haven't seen him yet. We have these major changes taking place in the weather, and you go out to an afternoon food source, and lo and behold, he's right at your feet. Might even be a buck that you haven't seen yet this year, but you know he's coming. I just saw a buck last night. He's a big white 8. He's a 4-year-old I passed up last year. He'd be a beauty this year, and I got my first picture of him last night over in Wisconsin where I hunt. So I'm getting really excited to start getting itchy and go over there and check that spot out and get a hunt over there too. And he's one of the ones I was waiting for to see. And I saw the other one that I'm after too that should be 7 years old this year. So I have 1 5 and 1 7-year-old over there that I'd really like to run into either one of them. I'm not picky with either one of those. But I'm looking for that afternoon food sources. And because of the weather, instead of that buck coming in an hour after dark or a little bit after dark or 2 hours, I'm looking at him on that food source during the daylight in bow range. And that's why I'm waiting. That's why I don't want to go into that stand location until I see this place, this weather taking place. And that's why you get down to, you have these weather changes this time of year and all through hunting season every 5 to 10 days. You get east winds on the front side. A lot of times you get southwest, northwest winds on the back side of these changes. There's a lot of change in volatility, but that only takes place every 5 to 10 days. So when it comes to this time of year, This is the first change I've seen take place in our area anyways. I know some of the other areas had a good change this last weekend, but ours didn't. And so I'm really looking for these changes to key on this time of year. These opportunities don't come around every day or every 3 days or every weekend as you have your time off. You kind of, I look at a lot of these weather changes. If I'm looking at big temperature drop, weather change, and now I have this clean day where there's no high winds, extreme high winds, or no moisture and rain coming down, I'm looking at, man, I need to get out the woods. And a day like that, and an afternoon sit this time of year, is far better than hunting a whole weekend or a 3-day weekend where the weather's bad. And you look at this weekend coming up. Again, we're going 79, 77, 74, 70, 65. And then we're getting in that 70-degree range. We're getting high winds and rain and weather taking place. I want to hunt just after that. And that puts me during the week instead of on the weekend. If I could hunt during the week that one sit, I'd trade that for those 3 bad sits on the weekend when it comes to the weather, because those bad sit days, the algorithm that I have on HuntCast, that I helped develop that on HuntWise, the HuntCast algorithm, really puts a huge priority. And what I've seen is there are 10 out of 10 days, there are 9 out of 10 days, 8 out of 10, 7 out of 10. Then there's just a few in between. And if you looked at 45 days of, let's say you could look backwards, typically you'll find that you have 8, 9, 10 days that are in that 7 to 10 out of 10 days. You'll have a handful that are in the middle, and then you'll have 30 that are at the bottom. And I find those 30 at the bottom, they're a 1, 2, 3, even 4 out of 10, that none of those can combine to equal one good day. Now, some of you say, well, I'm just going to hunt anytime I can. But if you can have the choice, and I appreciate that. Some can only hunt on the weekend. You have to take what you get. Even then, slant, if you have a Friday evening, a Saturday, a Sunday, and you have those 3 afternoon hunts, well, slant it toward your best stands, towards the best weather, and you'll be rewarded. Don't look at it like I need to go hunt my best stand first and spook out these deer potentially, and then you're just blowing off Saturday and Sunday. Instead, say, you know what, Sunday's going to be a best weather day, or Saturday I'm going to save my best stand till then, and you'll be rewarded for hunting smart. Again, hunting smart is the key. The more time you put in the woods doesn't mean anything, because if you're doing it at low percentage times and you're burning out your stand and your land, now even public land, if you're looking at it like I'm going to hunt this public land and it's near my house and I can hunt, or 2 hours away, but I'm going to hunt it consistently throughout the season, you have to look at it as a marathon, not a sprint. If you're hunting some island to cover in the morning and you're waiting for that deer to come back to you and you're on public land, maybe you need to beat the masses there and get it early in the season, get a shot at that buck, and then he's gone after that. So there's that case too. There's a lot of different cases for how you hunt. Maybe you're in an area where you can bump deer out, go and sit on their bedding area waiting for them to come back. And because you're in a buck-rich area, a fantasy land state, and you can do that, that's not typical of the north half of the country where there's a lot more hunters and there's a lot more hunting pressure, and you have to manage your pressure. This is a way to manage your pressure and make smart decisions when it comes to hunting. Don't miss this weather opportunity if your season's open right now. Sorry for states like Ohio and Michigan. Your time is coming. There'll be weather forecasts for you early October. But make sure that you're hunting by weather. It'll guide you to success this fall like nothing else. It's what I stake my love and passion of all things whitetail on. I love hunting. I love being successful when we hunt. You can bet when we go out tonight, we have expectations because of the weather right now. And if you follow what's going on right now at the end of September, then boy, huge rewards can be around the corner. Just hunt smart, let the weather guide you to success, and you'll be on a target, not for just this time and end of September, but this formula will guide you to success all season long. I appreciate you guys watching the YouTube channel, but I don't know if everyone knows everything that we have to offer, whether it's on whitetailhabitatsolutions.com, our website, or WHS Wildlife Blends, our seed company. Also Instagram you can check out. I'm very active on Instagram, putting strategies on there, photos of what we do every day. Much more active there than Facebook. But our seed, web classes, books, clients, articles. I have over 600 articles on whitetailhabitatsolutions.com, everything whitetail strategy. Of course, we have hats on there, and then make sure to check us out on Instagram again. But lots of stuff to offer. We're always coming out with new things, and this isn't the end of it. We have more things coming soon. Make sure to check us out.